It's very important that we don't allow people to steal our dreams. One night, a man had a dream. He dreamed he was walking along the beach with the Lord. On the beach, he saw two sets of footprints, one of his and one of the Lord's. As he looked back upon his life, he noticed that during the most difficult times, there was only one set of footprints. This troubled him greatly, so he decided to ask the Lord about it. And he said, "Lord, you told me that once I decided to follow you, you'd always be there for me. How is it then that during the most difficult times of my life, there's only one set of footprints?" And the Lord said, "My precious, precious child, I love you and would never leave you. During your times of trials and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you." A child grows up and has parents that are loving and with the best of intentions. And that child at some point needs to go to a doctor because they're not feeling well. And the child thinks, doctors must be the most incredible people in the world for making me feel better. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. And those loving parents say, "Oh, you need much education to be a doctor, a lot of commitment, and it's very difficult to become a doctor." And those loving parents have stolen that child's dream. As the child gets older, the child develops friends and starts to share their dream with those friends. And the child thinks, when I grow up, I want to be an engineer. I think being an engineer would be amazing. And his friends tease him and say, "No, you could never be an engineer. That's too difficult. You don't have what it takes." And those friends have stolen that child's dream. The child grows up and now reaches high school and has to speak with their guidance counselor. And the child has a dream now of becoming an archaeologist. And the guidance counselor says, "Well, there's really not much money in being an archaeologist, and it's a lot of long hours without much job satisfaction, so I recommend you don't do that." And this guidance counselor has stolen this child's dream. It is very important in life that we stay true to ourselves, because with enough love, patience, persistence, energy, and determination, you can accomplish your dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to... Don't play that video yet. Turn that off. All right. Spoiler. Okay. We're going to replay that in just a second. Let's try that again. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to LifeWave's next humanitarian drone, the Voyager. Now, you might notice that this one is very different than our flying wing, and that's for very, very good purpose and reason. The mission statement of this drone is very different than the flying wing, and we're going to be getting into talking about that in just a moment. But just first a comment about this. This started as just like anything else, an idea and a concept. And this is something that I've worked with my son on and a group of engineers that are very talented, and working together collectively, we've been able to bring this to life. And now this drone is capable of something that no other drone in the world is capable of. So we've been able to take a basic idea, create a dream, and then turn that dream into a reality. And we've done this all within less than 1 year. So we're going to get into some of the details behind this, and to do that, I'd like to welcome back onto stage our Global Vice President of Sales, Ryan Barson.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? It's kind of fun for me to be out here right now with David after that kind of a reveal. And that's impressive. I've known about this for a little bit, but I had to keep my mouth shut.
Well, yeah, we've had a tremendous amount of fun. I would say that when you start a project like this, the first thing is you probably have noticed doesn't really have much of any wings. Last year, we unveiled a flying wing, and this year, we're unveiling something that virtually has no wings. So we could talk about that as a concept. First, the idea behind this was back in the 1950s, there was a gentleman by the name of Custer, and he was looking at the concept of how airplanes actually fly, and it occurred to him that when you have an airplane, it has to develop a specific amount of speed before it can actually get off the ground. So his thought is, why don't we invert that principle, and instead of developing ground speed, instead what we'll do is move the speed of the air over the wing more rapidly. So effectively what this does is it has an active system for pushing air through this giant ring, and that creates lift. So the advantage of this is that you could have this one parked in your garage, and it could take off from your street, and it could land on your street. This model, which is our second prototype, this is what we would call our phase 2. Phase 1 was a model about 1 meter or so in length, about 3 feet in length. This new model that you see over here is about 10, 11 feet in length, but yet it only requires a takeoff distance of about 35 feet or so. The next phase that we're building, which is significantly bigger than this one, that will have a takeoff distance of about 20 feet or so. So what that means is if we use the fires in Maui as an example, we can take off and land right from the beach or from a street, and then off we go.
One of the things that stands out to me, not only is that incredible, but you talk a lot about dreams and not stealing your dreams, and this is a dream of yours to make a difference in the lives of other people. And the fires in Maui is just one example of many where people are challenged all over the world. But those dreams, you don't want people to steal your dreams. Where are you headed from here? What are your dreams for the future?
Well, I mentioned that the purpose of this was going to be very different from the flying wing. And with the flying wing concept, we've been developing new cutting-edge power generation technology to power that drone so it can stay in the air longer than any other drone. And so you can imagine if you had a better way to generate electricity that was completely clean, that might have some applications in powering your home or recharging your electric cars, which we're being forced to buy rather. So this is the issue, is where are we going to get our electricity from? So solar has its disadvantages, wind has its disadvantages, and putting power generation systems into drones is an excellent way of having a real-world test to see if something's going to work before we roll it out for other applications. For this drone, we're testing something entirely different. First, we're testing new methods of propulsion that don't currently exist. So in the starter models, I'd say there's 6 phases of development on this project, and we're currently in phase 3. So phase 1, as I mentioned, was just to see, is this thing going to work? And then phase 2 is what you've actually seen flying now. So based on those successful tests, we're going over to phase 3. But in addition to propulsion, we're looking at communication systems. So the idea, one of the things that's been incredibly, and this now will kind of be the punchline, one of the things that's been incredibly alarming, I think, to all of us is the suppression of free speech, and that we don't have free communications the way we're supposed to. So some of the things that we're going to be testing with this, you can think of this as a terrestrial Starlink. So imagine you can put one of these things up in international waters and use it as a communications tower that's not running on 5G and actually using something that's healthy and beneficial. We could have our own communication system, so we could have real freedom of speech by having a network of these things around. So my ultimate goal with this is to use this very novel design to have basically have a terrestrial satellite system. So instead of spending billions of dollars to put satellites up in orbit, we can use new technology to have these things around the planet in the atmosphere functioning as communication nodes.
Are all of you hearing what he's saying? What's fascinating to me is you've undoubtedly heard talk of energy, innovation in energy fields. You've heard talk of innovation in communication, doing things a lot differently than what's mostly accepted today. You also happened to see just a few minutes ago some slides of the Welcome Center that David didn't want to talk about. Do you see where this is going? It's the innovation, the dreams, not letting someone steal your dreams, and that innovation is what attracted me to LifeWave in the first place. And I remember during one of our first conversations, and I mentioned this yesterday when I talked, you said something that really got to me, and it was, I want to be an innovator, I want to do things differently, I want to think 15, 20 years in the future. I don't want Me Too products, or to put it a different way, I don't want copycat products that you can buy anywhere else. We have that now with patches. So communication's part of it, power's part of it. Where do you see the rest of this going, and what are your dreams for LifeWave in the future?
Yeah, so let's talk about first the capabilities of this, because if we talk about the capabilities, then some of those things are going to become kind of self-evident, right? So one of the things that we've already done with this, in addition to short takeoff and landing, is the loiter speed. So today, if we wanted to take a drone and we wanted to hover it over a target, so let's say we'll use a practical example. We had the unfortunate hurricane that went through Florida, and we had 20,000 homes that got wiped out. And if they had had our drone technology, they could have created a map of the damaged area within about 3 or 4 days, as opposed to the over 6 weeks that it took doing it from the ground. So when we're talking about the ability to loiter over a target, typically we're going to think of quadcopters. And the problem with quadcopters is that the endurance is limited to maybe 15 minutes, 20, 30 minutes at most. So there are very significant disadvantages there. We can't effectively loiter over a target with a conventional drone. They're just flying too quickly. And if we want to include a VTOL module in the drone, the flight time is limited with battery power to about 6 or 8 minutes. So in our drone that you've seen, how would I say this? Off-the-shelf technology allows for a flight of about 6 minutes on VTOL. Our drone is different. We're using other tech that we invented for that. So there's very, very serious downsides. With this drone, we don't need to take either of those approaches. We don't need a complicated vertical takeoff and landing system. We don't need anything like a quadcopter. There's technology that's built into this that allows it to fly today at about 10 miles per hour over a target without requiring any extra blades to do that, like you would have with a quadcopter. So it's extraordinarily efficient, and it works extremely well.
All of this innovation, where are we going with this? What do you see as the future for LifeWave in general and for all the people who are here today and all those who are watching virtually?
I'm not there yet. I want to talk a little bit more about this so they can understand where we're going with it.
Let's do it.
I know you're excited to get to that part, Mr. Sales Guy.
Yes.
I know that, but I want to go through this just a little bit more, because then it will. We should tell the story a little bit more. Another thing about this drone, so when we think about natural disasters, right, one of the big problems is there's going to be heavy winds, or when you're trying to get into places, maybe at extreme altitudes, the weather is going to play a significant role. And conventional drones have a limit of maybe 15 to 20 miles an hour. In terms of wind gusts, what they can handle. And of course, hurricanes would be much higher than that. So we actually flew this in 15-mile-an-hour winds, and it was completely resistant to those wind gusts. Didn't care about it, one way or another because of the design. So the good thing about this is that when there is a natural disaster, when there's an emergency, we don't have to wait until the weather improves before getting a drone in the air. This is not going to care one way or the other. So that's important, because where we're going in the future, Brian, is this place where we can use this technology first to provide humanitarian relief, and this redefines the network marketing industry. It's good for every company, and it gives every company an opportunity to say, yeah, look what LifeWave has done with innovation and with humanitarian relief, and hopefully we can get people to start looking at our industry in an entirely different way. So that's one of the things I want to see coming out of this. Is that what you were looking for?
It's actually a different answer than I was looking for, but I want to go with that one for a minute. So looking at our industry in an entirely different way, we've had a few discussions during this event about companies that maybe haven't done things the same way that LifeWave has done. You're looking to create a company that stands out among all network marketing companies, that is truly different, not just because we stand here on stage and say we're different, but that we are different.
Yeah, this really starts with the mindset of making innovation a commitment to research, putting money into that, time and resources, people, to have that as the very foundation of everything else that you're doing. So the idea is looking at the various trends. So back in 2008, I was looking at where the trends in health and science, and those trends were in stem cells. So we began working back then on ways to activate stem cells in the human body. And of course, ultimately, that led to the release of X39. So we can all relate to how a commitment, a long-term commitment to innovation, putting millions of dollars into research, is going to result in products that present phenomenal business opportunities. So today, we don't have any competitors for our patch technology. And that's because we continue to invest money, we continue to develop new products instead of resting on the ones that we have. So, thinking beyond that, what are the trends of where things are going in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, we could say our food supply is corrupted. There are unspeakable things being done with genetic engineering with our food. So we have to be able to have control over our food supply and grow our own food. Wow. I'm glad they like that.
That's a good one.
I would dare, based on that response, I would dare to say that we should be concerned with our water. Our water has... Our water, drinking water, is toxic, polluted. You can't drink the water. You don't want to shower in the water. So we need to have better technology to provide water that's clean. And, of course, go beyond that. We want to think about water as an opportunity to heal the human body, right? So with these drones, it gives us the opportunity to test new technology in power generation, in communications, and look at how are these going to be platforms that we could potentially use for the future. So as an example, when we talk about communications, we all lived through the pandemic, and we all lived through an era where if you said, and I know this because it happened to LifeWave, I happened to put an article out on the use of vitamin C as an effective means of treating viral infections, and Facebook flagged that and took the post down, despite the fact that this was a study published by the National Institute of Health. It's like, how can you suppress a government study? This is ridiculous. So we want to be thinking about these things and thinking about these trends so that if we're putting millions of dollars into the research, and we're putting 5 years, 10 years, whatever the period of time is going to be. But it's important just to get started, and just get started, just get going, and then see how it develops. And the drone side of our research has been going incredibly well. It is going better than any other project, I think, that I've worked on. So there's no question it's going to be successful.
That's fantastic. One of the things that stands out to me, you said this yesterday, you've said it again today, we're a technology company. That our efforts in driving technology to a certain degree will help create new potential products, new opportunities, new trends, maybe that we could be at the forefront of. We talked a little bit about Star Trek, and you brought up how the underlying theme, underneath Heart to Heart, is Star Trek. Well, some of those things, I'm going to tie it to the space program if I can. Innovations that we take advantage of today started in the 60s when the space program was developing. All kinds of direction and movement in places led to other technologies that they weren't even looking for. Same hold true for LifeWave?
Same holds true, absolutely. When I started the research on stem cells, at first I was thinking that we needed a type of external electromagnetic field to signal the activation of stem cells. So we began to develop these novel coils that produced a novel shape for a pulsed electromagnetic field, and this ended up having a therapeutic effect. But as we got through the research, eventually that led to the development of X39. So it's important when you start out on a research program that you don't necessarily want to be tied into any one specific outcome. you have to be very organic and flexible because you don't know what direction things are going to take based on the research that you do. So in other words, this would be in the category of unexpected results. You run experiments, you create prototypes, and then you may see and observe an outcome where you get an aha moment and you say, oh, this is something I need to pay attention to. Let's go ahead and investigate this, and let's see if we can create something new from it. So it's totally okay that you start with one concept and it develops into something else. So the flying wing came first, and that's been an absolutely critical part of what we're doing for humanitarian aid. But this was the next step. It doesn't look like the logical next step, but when I began to look at the operational parameters of the flying wing and what it was capable of, I thought, okay, I want to take this now and create something new with it. So I was able to reach out to 3 engineers and present them with a concept, and they said, oh, we've got absolutely something in mind for this, and it was a collaborative effort to get to where we are today.
Just phenomenal stuff. Would it be safe to say, David, that you are thinking 5, 10 plus years in the future in terms of innovation and trends and tapping into those and creating opportunities for the people in this room?
Oh, no, you think 20 years ahead.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, you think 20 years ahead because you want to look, 10 years is almost a little bit too short. There's certainly going to be many innovations that make it to market within the next 5 to 10 years. And at the rate at which information is doubling and there are new discoveries being made, you have to stay on top of those things and be able to respond to them. But you do want to take the best guess at where we could potentially be in 20 years, right? So 20 years, we'd say that drones are going to be an intimate part of our life. We're going to be getting deliveries of food by drones. You'd be able to have an app and get a pizza delivered or Chinese food delivered by a drone. You're going to get your mail delivered by a drone. Amazon's already doing this. They have a number of patents on it. There's already trials being done to deliver organs in the future. And that organ donations are going away. We're going to 3D print organs. So God forbid, you develop diabetes. You'll be able to have a doctor 3D print a pancreas, insert it into your body, and then inject stem cells from a 25-year-old, and now you have a 25-year-old pancreas, even though you might be 50, 60, 70 years old. So these are all things that are going to be happening in the not-too-distant future. So when we think about the opportunities for drones, when I look at communications and the reason why it impacts us, number one, we need our own system of communications, so we can't be shut down. And then the next thing we need, the next thing we need, we might want to say, is by 2030, right? So just around the corner now. By 2030, it's estimated that the amount of money the communication industry will generate by drones will be $200 billion globally. So this is an enormous market. And so if you can go into that market with a technology that nobody else has and everybody wants, then we can create an unbelievably powerful business opportunity. So that's the thinking of looking that forward into the future.
That, ladies and gentlemen, I think is the definition of innovation for a technology company.
Well, we didn't talk about the performance numbers on this.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, let's do that. So we talked about that it's short takeoff and landing. We talked about that it can fly as low as 10 miles an hour. Keep in mind, when most planes are landing, they have to be traveling 90, 120 miles an hour and more in order to land. And this can land only going 10 miles an hour. As a matter of fact, now we can show that video that you were seeing before. This was unbelievably fun to get this out and see it fly for the first time, because a lot of people said, oh, this is never going to fly. But here it took off on the very first flight at about 35 miles per hour. And on this day, it was the winds where you can see it's a little cloudy. The winds were 13, 15 miles per hour. And this would not be good weather where we normally would want to fly an aircraft, but it was actually really excellent conditions for us to test the stability of this drone. One of the things that you'll notice is that this aircraft is almost entirely devoid of control surfaces. And this uses a technique which is very similar to what we've done on our flying wing, which we have what are called elevons to control left, right, up, and down. And the advantage of this is that we don't need a tail, and we found another way to counter torque. So it minimizes the complexity and improves the reliability. And you can see it just kind of floats along and does a really slow flyby. The other thing, of course, we're going to show in just a minute as it turns around here is that it can land equally in a very, very short distance. So in these initial tests, it's been a distance of about 30 feet or so, and there it goes. It puts right down. So again, you can imagine that in an emergency situation like what we had in Hawaii recently, we could take off and land anywhere, wouldn't have to be at an airport. This could stay in the air for a really long time, and it could just act as a communications network for people on the ground. So of course this is going to have cameras, it'll have infrared, and it will be able to look for survivors, but it's also going to, if cell phones get wiped out, this then conceivably can act as a communications node so people can have cell service if that's a mission parameter we decide to go with.
Which I think they lost in Hawaii during those fires.
Exactly, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, is we can put this up in the air for a very, very long period of time in almost all weather conditions, the rain or heavy winds, and it provides those reliable communications. The other thing that's worth noting on this is I mentioned that there's 6 phases to this. And phase 1 was the test. Phase 2 is what you've seen. Phase 3 is what we're going towards. So in phase 2, which is this drone that flies, it will have about a maximum speed of 65 miles per hour. So that's very slow and very conservative compared to the flying wing that we have. In phase 3, the objective is to change a variable on this, and we project that it will be able to fly about 200-300 miles per hour. And so the idea is you could take off from anywhere at very, very low speeds, get up to altitude, fly 200-300 miles per hour, get to your target, and then you can hover there at 10 miles per hour and provide the services that you need to. And then in phase 4 and 5, we're going to go a little bit faster than that. Phase 4 is getting more up into the range of 600-700 miles per hour. And then phase 5 is supersonic, and then phase 6.
So think about what phase 6 might mean.
Phase 6. Well, as Lucius Fox said to Bruce Wayne, oh, you wouldn't be interested in that.
Which is the perfect thing to say to someone so that it garners more interest. Yes.
Yeah, so phase 6, I would say, would be what we might call speculative engineering. So this would be looking at nature and looking for examples. And so there's a very, very interesting phenomena. There's a fellow that I was introduced to who's had been doing work for the Department of Defense, and looking at this phenomena where there was a plane flying around Bimini, and it was going through a thunderstorm, and it went through this specific zone in the thunderstorm, And within about 10 seconds, it appeared several hundred miles away. And what was found was that there was a phenomena that was created in this cloud where there was a magnetic tripole, and this allowed for a folding of space. And so what happened in this one incident, which is very well documented, is that this plane traveled several hundred miles within about 10 seconds, and it still had an extra 8 gallons of fuel that was in the airplane, so that when it landed, I think this was up over towards Fort Lauderdale or something, it was determined that there was no way the plane had enough fuel to get over there. This was a small plane. So in the type of experiments that we look at, we use this novel shape to create an electromagnetic bubble. And we want to see that if we could attain speeds with this that wouldn't normally be achievable. I think that's a good way of saying it.
Literally Star Trek.
Literally Star Trek. I was going to say we're creating a warp bubble, but that was going a little bit too far, but that's literally what it is.
Yes, that is absolutely phenomenal. How many of you are excited to be part of a company that is this innovative? So, David, what do you see as the future for LifeWave?
Future is amazing. I think the takeaway on this, right? There should be a takeaway. The first thing is where we are today is that we have a phenomenal line of products that no other company has. We have a phenomenal business opportunity, and we have a commitment to helping those in need through existing humanitarian programs. And every single one of those areas we're going to continue to support, invest money in, and grow. So in the area of product development, today you have patches, but in the not so distant future, you're going to have other technologies that improve health and wellness and beyond. In our business opportunity, we're going to be utilizing new technology like holograms and things that you haven't even seen yet to support your business building efforts. So you can be building your business and earning money faster and easier than ever before, and doing it in less time so you have time for your friends and family. And then finally, we're going to be using technology like the drones to provide humanitarian effort and take matters into our own hands so that when there is a humanitarian crisis, we can be responding to that. So we can work with organizations like the Red Cross, like Convoy of Hope, and others, and saving people's lives. That's what this is really all about, developing better tools to help those in need. And when we do all of these things, we totally redefine the network marketing industry. So 10 years from now, when people look at networking, they say, oh my God, I want to be involved in this industry. Look how amazing it is, and look what companies are doing, like LifeWave.
I am personally thrilled to be part of a category-creating company, category-creating in a number of areas, from patches to all the innovation that you've just talked about to all of it. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand and give this amazing individual a massive round of applause.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Brian, thank you very much.